Police found her blood in the basement. They found the knife. They found internet searches on how to cut up a body, but they never found Anna Walshe. In January 2023, a successful real estate executive vanished from her suburban home. Her husband said she left for work. Surveillance cameras told a different story, and the digital trail left behind would become one of the most disturbing pieces of evidence in modern true crime. This is not just a missing persons case. It's a case built on lies, blood evidence, and a husband whose version of events collapsed under scrutiny, even without a body. I'm going to walk you through the evidence, the timeline, and the chilling digital footprint that prosecutors allege points to murder, in a case where silence may be the loudest evidence of all. On the dawn of New Year's Day, 2023, the quiet, affluent town of Cohasset, Massachusetts, was still asleep. Streets were empty. Houses were dark. But inside one home, a family's future was already unraveling. Anna Walshe, a 39-year-old mother of 3, was gone. Her disappearance would ignite a massive investigation, expose a pattern of deception, and leave behind a haunting question that remains unanswered to this day. What really happened to Anna Walshe? And where is she? This is a story about what investigators believe happened behind closed doors, and the secrets buried beneath the surface of a seemingly ordinary suburban life. Anna Walshe was, by every public measure, thriving. An ambitious real estate executive, she managed luxury properties in Washington, D.C., while maintaining a home in Massachusetts. She frequently traveled between cities, balancing an intense career with motherhood. She had immigrated from Serbia and built a life many would call the American dream. But behind that success, cracks were forming. Those cracks often traced back to her husband, Brian Walshe. Brian was not new to deception. Years earlier, he had been convicted of federal art fraud, stealing and selling fake Andy Warhol paintings. At the time of Anna's disappearance, he was on house arrest, restricted from leaving the family home without permission. Some who knew him described Brian as charming. Others described him as manipulative. Prosecutors would later describe him as a man practiced in lying when cornered. Despite his past, Anna appeared determined to keep the family together. She was the primary breadwinner. Brian stayed home, ostensibly caring for their 3 young sons. But that fragile balance would shatter in the early hours of January 1st. The last confirmed sighting of Anna Walshe was on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2022. She reportedly spent the evening at home with Brian and a family friend. According to Brian, Anna left the house around 4 a.m. to travel to Logan Airport for a flight to Washington, D.C. for work, something she had done many times before. But investigators would soon confirm something crucial. Anna never boarded that flight. She never arrived in Washington. She never checked into a hotel. And she never contacted her employer. Her workplace reported her missing on January 4th, 3 days after Brian claimed she had left. Brian told police he had slept through her departure. He claimed New Year's Day was unremarkable. Errands, childcare, nothing out of the ordinary. But when investigators examined those claims, the story began to fracture. Investigators quickly discovered that Brian Walshe's alibi was riddled with falsehoods. Surveillance footage placed him at locations he initially denied visiting. These weren't minor memory lapses. They were deliberate omissions, and they pointed to something he didn't want seen. On January 2nd, the day after Anna allegedly left, Brian was captured on camera at a Home Depot. There, he purchased over $450 worth of cleaning supplies: mops, buckets, tarps, chemical cleaners. For a man under house arrest, the trip itself was unauthorized. And for a husband whose wife was merely late, the purchases were impossible to explain. Investigators would later document multiple cash purchases of similar items. Brian was also observed carrying large trash bags and visiting dumpsters across different locations. Behavior prosecutors allege was an attempt to scatter evidence beyond recovery. At this point, detectives weren't asking if Brian was lying. They were asking why. Then investigators uncovered what would become the most chilling evidence in the case. On an iPad belonging to one of Brian's children, they found internet searches made shortly after Anna vanished. How to dispose of a 115-pound woman's body. How to cut up a body. How long before a body smells. Can you identify bones with missing teeth? What does formaldehyde do? These searches alone don't prove murder. But combined with what investigators found next, they became impossible to ignore. Inside the Walshe home, Forensic teams discovered blood evidence in the basement. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Anna Walshe. A damaged knife was also recovered. Prosecutors allege this evidence points to a violent act, followed by a methodical effort to erase what happened. Authorities believe Anna's body was dismembered and disposed of across multiple waste facilities. Despite extensive searches, no remains were ever recovered, a devastating reality that would shape the entire case. On January 18, 2023, Brian Walshe was charged with the murder of his wife. Prosecutors outlined a case built on deception, forensic evidence, digital searches, and a pattern of behavior they argue leaves no innocent explanation. But one challenge remained. There was no body. No body murder cases are among the hardest to prosecute. Without physical remains, the case must convince a jury that a crime occurred and that the accused is responsible beyond reasonable doubt. For Anna's family, the uncertainty was unbearable. Anna Walshe remains missing. Her final resting place is unknown. And for her 3 sons, the absence is permanent. Prosecutors believe the evidence speaks for itself. The defense insists belief is not proof. So the question becomes this: if you were on the jury, would this evidence be enough to convict, even without a body? Tell us your reasoning in the comments. This is Arcane Echo, where the truth doesn't vanish, even when the body does. Subscribe for stories that refuse to stay buried.